We certainly have had our share of homework wars in the past, and occasionally now we still have some battles, but on the whole, it's a whole lot better. So I'm going to be talking today about our experience with homework as it relates to my son and his dyslexia, so stay tuned. Welcome to Ask Me About Dyslexia. My name is Pam Spock, if we haven't met before. So glad to have you. I often make these videos called Confessions of a Dyslexia Mama when it's more of a personal nature. And so this video is just going to kind of go through our experience with homework. My son has dyslexia. He is currently in 7th grade and actually doing fairly well. I am so pleased and so thankful. We have learned so much over the past years that has helped us, and so I try to share these things so that I can help other people. So I'm just going to walk through how things went with each grade, starting with 1st grade. So 1st and 2nd grade were the worst. The whole thing was a nightmare. We didn't know what was wrong. We would be given these little booklets for my son to read these stories from for homework, for practice, reading practice, and he really couldn't do it at all. And so that was torturous. He was also given a weekly spelling list that he had to learn. Could not do it to save his life. We would work and work and work and work, and it was just awful. There were tears. And of course, he wasn't able to do his work at school very well because he couldn't read, couldn't spell, couldn't write, couldn't do any of those things very well at all. And so he wasn't getting his work done at school. Of course, he also had attention issues at the time. We thought that was his only issue, is that he couldn't pay attention, and so therefore he couldn't learn. We figured he had ADHD. He was not on medication at that time. We just thought that if he could just pay attention, he could learn. If you've watched the video that I made about his story, I go into more detail about that, so I'll link that down below. But anyways, he wasn't getting his work done. He would even have to miss recess trying to get it done. And then it was sent home to do. So on top of not successfully reading in his little reading books, not successfully studying the spelling words, he also had to do these papers, get these papers done. And it was just miserable for him and for me and for my husband, because sometimes I would just get so frustrated and pass it over to him, let him have a turn. And I'm not blaming the teachers. They just didn't know what to do. They thought that if he could just get some help with these papers by working on them at home, then he could finally catch up. He could learn stuff. So they thought they were doing the right thing. And trust me, they are not alone in that thought. Lots of teachers do that. They figure, well, they need to do this work to learn. I'm going to send it home. They've got to learn it somewhere. Anyways, moving on to 3rd grade. It was a completely different experience. We got a teacher who is very good at recognizing dyslexia, recognized it in my son right off the bat. And she teaches in a way that all kids can learn, whether they're dyslexic or not. And she did not give a lot of homework. Once we started with tutoring and accommodations, we didn't have to worry about spelling lists anymore. We didn't have to write the spelling list. We didn't have to study the spelling words, because he was getting the spelling teaching in a way that was different than how it was being taught in class, and being taught the way that he needed to learn. So we didn't have to do spelling anymore. Reading was also being taken care of through tutoring, so we didn't have to worry about any of that. And the rest of it, he just learned very well from her. There was a little bit of studying for history or science, and the teacher would make sure that his study sheets were with the blanks in them, where the students were supposed to fill in the little blanks to make sure that they had the study sheet to study. She made sure that everything was readable because of his dysgraphia and just difficulty with spelling. She was just wonderful. So by the time that by January, we were definitely, really, we had gotten the screening, we had gotten the accommodations, and we're starting that process. It was all fairly new to me. I had done it as a teacher in 5th grade, but, had to apply it to 3rd grade and as, a mother, her own son, working with him. 4th grade was the first year that we really started a school year with all the accommodations and the tutoring rolling. So 4th grade was good. The teachers were great about making sure that homework was not excessive. People who have dyslexia often have issues with executive function. That's like the skills that you need in order to get things done. Things like, well, as in applying to homework, that you need to write down the homework, that when it comes to the end of the day, you need to look at your list of homework, say, okay, I have math homework, I need to bring my math book home, put it in the bag, etc. Then you get home, okay, let's get out my homework list again, look at the list, okay, I need to do these things. None of that came naturally for my son. Now I realize that in 4th grade it is still a learning process, but kids who have executive function problems can be years behind in things like that. And I was just starting to understand this at the time. So we would, sometimes he would miss the homework and the teachers were kind enough to let me know. So we would, get it made up. 5th grade, same thing. 6th grade, same thing. He would sometimes miss in 6th grade, and the 6th grade teachers were trying really hard to prepare the kids for the jump up into 7th grade, which was going from elementary to junior high. And it's always a big transition for the kids in level of difficulty and the amount of work that they have to do, just everything that's expected of them. The 6th grade teachers try to prepare them, and one of them is in the Department of Homework. And if they didn't do their homework, then they would get a pink slip and the parent would have to sign it, and the student would still have to do it for a lower grade, but they could get at least partial credit. So we saw some pink slips come into our home that year. But I was thankful that there was at least still some kind of parental notification that homework was not getting done. Because we can go online and look at their grades, but that's not always current enough for me to step in and do something to find out, okay, what was the homework that was missed? Let's go ahead and make this up. But it was still good. And then this year, of course, he went to 7th grade, and I was so concerned about him going to 7th grade because when my daughter went to 7th grade, it was a really big transition. She had a hard time, and she is generally just a good student, without any of the issues that my son has had to deal with. So I was very concerned about him remembering to bring everything home, or first of all, knowing what the assignments are. Second of all, remembering to bring the books home for the assignments. So, but I was just like, we're just going to start this year and see what happens. So we did. And I was also concerned because he was starting soccer. Never done this before. There was going to be lots of practices and lots of games. And I was just like, well, we'll just see how it goes. If his grades drop, he'll be dropped from the team. So it was actually kind of a good motivation for him. He has done surprisingly well. I am very, very proud of him. He's also more laid back than my daughter, and so I think the transition was easier for him because he does not worry about stuff like my daughter did. She worried about all the work that she had to do and had to really work things up in her mind, whereas he doesn't. And just, if he misses things, it just, Now, sometimes I would like to light a fire underneath him to get him more concerned about things, but you know what? There's some positive to that as well. A couple other things that really helped were that I have now been talking to the teachers about his accommodations for, let's see, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. This is the 5th year. And so I am intimately acquainted with his accommodations. And if he needs help with something, I'm the one that gives it. Usually. Sometimes my husband helps, but it's usually me. I also know the teachers very well because I was on staff there until I left the classroom and started my own tutoring practice. So I know these people very well. I've worked with them, and I've also worked with them with other students. And my own daughter, of course, had them when she was in that grade. I feel like I've built a really good rapport with them, and I was very clear with them when I went with my son at the beginning of the year with his accommodation plan, and we talked through those things that were on it, that please, if there is anything that comes up, please let me know so that we can take care of it, because I'm not just one of those parents who just hands it all over to you and takes my hands off of it. I want him to learn to take care of things on his own and will only step in if necessary. But if it is necessary, please let me know so that I can step in. And they have been great about that. If something is not every time, but if there's seems to be a pattern of missing things, like say 2 or 3 assignments in one class in 1 week, they let me know. Hey, just want to let you know he's missed several assignments this week. This is what they were. And some teachers will take light assignments, some teachers won't, but they just kind of want to let me know. So it was going well through soccer season, and I'm not sure if he kind of lost motivation after soccer was over because he knew that he couldn't be bumped off the team because of his grades or what. I don't know if that was a conscious thought, or if he just kind of had other things on his mind. But in the past couple weeks, I got some emails of multiple assignments being missed in multiple classes. And so I went and touched base with the teachers, found out some more missing assignments, and said, okay, we need to bump up his accountability. Now, my son has had a homework planner this entire year, bought it in the summer along with all the other school supplies, and there was one thing written in it. So I had tried in the past to get him to write his assignments down, to no avail. And so what I decided to do, since it was getting to be such a problem, on each day I write down the names of his classes. So in the order that they happen. So English, math, history, etc. And he has to have something written beside each thing. If there's no homework, he just writes the word none. And he has to get the teacher to sign it. Just their initials is fine. He has to take the initiative to go to the teachers and ask them to sign it. I sent an email to all the teachers saying that this is what I'm doing and that we were going to continue this until I started seeing some more responsible behavior in the homework department, and that it was not the teacher's responsibility to ask for his assignment book to sign. So, and I told my son that at the end of each day, before we left the school campus, I would be checking for all of the signatures, and that if he was missing any, that he would have to go back into the school building to find his teachers to get the signatures. Well, the first day he came and he only had one signature. And I said, all right, I sent him right back into the school. He was only able to find, I think, one more teacher to sign. I needed to add an incentive to this. And so I talked to my husband and we're like, okay, well, he had already lost all electronics for a week because of all these missing assignments. And so we couldn't take that away. But what we thought about is that he has been saving up for something that he wants, and money is pretty important to him right now. So we decided that he would have to pay for each missing signature. So he's like, I'm not going to have any money left. I'm like, no, you're going to get your signatures so that you can make sure you get your homework done. And so the next day, as I'm waiting for him in the car, he was all smiles and thumbs up. We had to wait a while for him because he did not get the signatures all at the end of each class and had to go back, but at least he went back. And if something was missing on the assignment, the teacher kind of wrote it in and then signed. And so the next day, which was today, we've only been at this for this week, same thing. We had to wait a while for him to come to the car, but when he came back, he was thumbs up and smiles, and he had gotten all of his signatures. So I'm really proud of him for doing that. Whatever it takes, we'll do it. You know, it had been a while since the teachers had checked kids' assignment books, you know, in previous grades, and signed or put a little stamp, you know, saying, yes, this is correct for the homework. But that's what we had to do because he's got to do his homework. It's there for practice and to teach responsibility and to learn how to work. And so it's very important. We're not going to let him just slack off. So far, it's working really well. Something else that has helped homework go well for us as time goes on, and the level of difficulty and writing that has to happen has increased, is that I am able to type things for him. Now, he has had some typing in school, but he really hasn't learned how to type well yet. So that's something that's like a really important skill that we are going to work on so that he can type things himself. He has also gotten to the point where he's able to read a lot better than he could before. And so, like, for example, if he has a list of history terms, I'll sit there with my laptop and he will look up the term in the glossary and read the definition to me, and I type it. Or if there's questions at the end of the chapter, he reads the question to me and then he rephrases it as a statement to start the answer, and I type it, and then he goes and finds the answer and tells it to me, and I type it. And so that really, really cuts down on the amount of work and the amount of time that it takes him to do things, and that cuts down the frustration. I really don't mind doing it. I just know that several times a week he's going to need something typed, and we just do it. And he used to get really worked up looking at, say, a list of terms, but after I calmly typed everything out for him, he was like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. That only took like 15 minutes. Alleviate a lot of the stress that went with that and would have gone with that if he had had to write it. There was a time once this year where he started to write the terms on his own, but he just got so exhausted trying to copy all that down. That has been really helpful. I can't tell you how important accommodations are, and we are really at the right level of accommodations for his needs, and the teachers have been wonderful about those accommodations. And he's got a different teacher for every class now that he's in junior high. So it's just been a real blessing to have good teachers who are willing to work with him and willing to do things like accept typed assignments. So that's something that has made homework a lot easier than it would have been otherwise. I'm kind of on an upswing with the homework department. I've been wanting to make a Confessions of a Dyslexia Momma homework edition for quite a while. That's one of the things, like after I made the other one, the book report edition, soon after that is when I wanted to make the homework edition, but I just hadn't gotten to it yet. Sometimes homework can get me really riled up. If he didn't bring the book home and we had to drive back to the school, or an email from the teacher saying that he had missed things. I couldn't. I know he's got dyslexia and ADHD, and along with that comes executive function issues, and I know all of those things, but I have been trying to get him caught up in that department for so long. But I do try. I try to be patient and just keep on remembering he can't help it, but that's not an excuse. He just has to work harder at learning it and have things in place when he forgets. So we now have like several layers. He has to get the teacher to sign. He knows that before he comes to the car, he needs to have all of those signatures, or else he's going to have to go right back. He knows that if he does not get the signatures, then he's going to have to pay a little fine. It's just a little fine, but money adds up, and he has come to realize that. I didn't want to have to put those things in place, but it's better than getting frustrated. If this is what it takes for him to learn to be responsible and to learn well, because if you're not doing your homework, you're not going to learn very well. You're not getting the practice that you need. If that's what it takes, that's what we're going to do. So maybe this will be helpful to somebody out there who's really struggling with, especially an older student who is not writing down their assignments, not bringing home the right books. Maybe you can put some stops along the way that force him or her to stop and check. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful to you. I would love to have you as a subscriber, so go ahead and click that subscribe button. I will be making some more videos again soon, so check back again. I'm really glad that I'm back in the swing of it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.